Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this Rangers Review Transfer Special. We do love hosting these shows. Of course, we are speaking about Mohamed Diomande. He's set to sign for Rangers from FC Nordsjlland over in Denmark. And who better to speak to than Nordsjland Dreamin podcaster? He covers Nordsjlland in great detail. Casper joins us. Casper, thank you very much for coming on.
Of course, it's a pleasure to be here.
In terms of yourself, have you been a Nordsjlland supporter all your days? Is it a club that's close to your heart?
Yeah, so I've been a Nordsjlland supporter for quite a few years. I have a bit of British family. So first of all, I started out as a Manchester United supporter, and then I got a Danish team over time. But it's a relatively new club, so in that sense, it's also been tough to be a fan for too long time.
Yeah. Now, I know you guys are over there in the USA on a winter training camp at this moment in time. The news broke over the weekend. One of your midfielders, Mohamed Diomande, is set to head back and sign for Rangers. Now, a lot of Rangers fans will be tuning in just now, Casper. Just looking for a bit of insight. What sort of player is he, and what can the Rangers fans expect?
So first of all, he's a player that can play a lot of positions. So when he came into the team, he came in as a left wing back in a 3-4-3 formation. And then he's been playing a bit of false nine, a bit of left winger, a little bit of right winger, and now he's settled into a centre midfield role. So he has the trait of being able to play a lot of roles.
Yeah, interesting. And is he predominantly left-footed? Is that right?
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah. He came for you guys from the Right to Dream Academy. Can you tell us how the move to Nordsjlland came about?
Yeah, so if you don't know, then Right to Dream owns FC Nordsjlland. So it's the natural way of moving talent. So it's a pretty special model because it's actually the academy that owns the first team. So Tom Vernon bought FC Nordsjlland in 2015 with the vision to have a strong first team in Europe and an academy in Africa. And that's the way they bring in players. So it's not only Mohamed Diomande, it's also Mohamed Kudus that you might know from West Ham and Kamaldul Sulemana, and now there's two academies up and running at this point in time. So a Danish academy and a Ghanaian academy, and then we also just built a Egyptian academy as well. So over time, FC Nordsjlland will be the outlet of these players. So in that sense, it's not really a purchase from Right to Dream. It's more just a natural, you can say, evolution, that they come to Denmark and then they get a lot of playing time and then they get sold on to bigger and better clubs over time.
You mentioned he's pretty versatile. What's his physicality like? Is he someone that can handle himself? Does he like a challenge or two?
Yeah, so you can say he's a thin guy, but he knows how to give back. I think when I look at yellow cards per 90 minutes, he's actually up there. So he gets a beating from time to time, but he also gives a beating. So I think he's doing I think he's pretty hard in his form. But of course, since he has a narrow frame, he also draws a lot of fouls in.
Yeah. Where do you think his best position is, Casper? And what sort of formation do Nordsjlland normally play?
Yeah, so Nordsjlland plays a 4-3-3 formation. They have a lot of ball possession, and he plays a role on the center midfield. He plays to the left side of our center midfield, where he doesn't really play a role in phase one of the build-up, but he takes a slightly higher position. So you can say it's a little bit of a 2-1, like a double pivot, where then he plays in front of them, and he does that from a left point of view. So it's not fully winger, it's not fully central midfield, but it's working in the half spaces where he operates really well. Anticipation is that he will become a central midfield for you as well, and I think he's solid defensively as well. So he can easily fit into a midfield where it's not only about technique, but also about retaining position and so on.
Yeah, interesting. Is he someone that gets in amongst the goals and assists? Does he produce numbers when it comes to that sort of thing?
Yeah, well, I think he has a goal per every 10 game or so. So that's actually not that impressive. And that for sure is one of the areas where he has a bit of room to grow.
Yeah.
I think he needs to become a bit more clinical in his finishing. I think he links up really well. I think he is great at running into the box. But I think when it comes to the actual finishing in itself, he hasn't struck the right balance yet.
Yeah, interesting stuff. And his relationship with the Nordsjlland supporters, do they love him? Is it a good relationship he has with the fans?
Yeah, I was actually writing a little bit with him yesterday. He's a nice dude, and in general, we are a very small club. So the town in itself is 20,000 people. We are an average attendance of 5,000 in the stadium every time. So everyone knows each other, and he's really appreciated. And we have a captain group, so it rotates a little bit. And from time to time, he's also the captain. So he's played a tremendous role in our journey, and I think he could have left way earlier if he wanted to, but he's stuck around, and that's been great for us.
Yeah, has he had interest before now, Casper? Has there been other clubs perhaps sniffing about him?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I don't want to say any names because I'm sure that it's already in the press, but in general, there's been quite a bit of traction, and I think you should look at it like this, that we in December last year were in front of the title race, and we could have sold him for sure, but we kept him for another year. Of course, that means the sales price goes down, but then we enjoyed his company for another year, so that's probably why he's still around.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I mean, that situation, it must be a difficult one for the club at losing him because he has entered the final year of his contract. Rangers have got a number of players that will be leaving for nothing in the summer, so they know all about it. But is that something that maybe sticks in the throat, that you could have got a bit of cash for him?
Nah, I mean, in general, we sell players for a lot of money. I think Nuama left this summer for 25 million euro. We are good at selling players in general. So I think it's actually better for us to strike a balance where some people, they stay on for a while longer than their max price, but at the same time they deliver. I mean, they give value back by playing in the team. So that part doesn't really annoy me at all. I think that's fair enough. You have different strategies for different players, and Diomande is one of the ones we kept for a while.
Yeah, good stuff. Am I right in thinking Philippe Clement is no stranger to going to Nordsjlland for players? Am I right in thinking when he was in Belgium, he sort of spotted a couple of players from you guys? Is that right?
I'm actually not sure who he brought on and where he was coaching, so I actually don't know, to be honest.
Yeah, I've seen somewhere, I think Marcus Ingvartsen or something back in 2017.
Okay, he was one of them. So he wasn't a big success though under, but he was there for sure.
Yeah, you mentioned, I mean, 5,000 supporters at the games, Casper. He'll be moving to a club where he's playing in front of 50,000 people every other week. The demands and the expectations placed upon him as Rangers need to win every single game that they play. Do you think he has the mentality to thrive in that atmosphere?
It would be a proper guess, right? But I think I've not seen something that he shouldn't be able to step up. I think he's been really good in our European games where the pressure is higher, the attendance is higher. Same when we play against the bigger teams. I think he thrives really well in that. But of course, pressure is one thing, but cultural assimilation, or whatever we call it, is all as important as the pressure, I think. So I think it's more about how he settles in Rangers than it's about how many people are in the stadium. Yeah.
And you mentioned he's part of that sort of leadership group, so I'd imagine he's a well-rounded individual. Does he pick up many yellow and red cards at all?
Yeah. I think if we have to talk about some of the things where he's not my favorite player in the stadium all the time, is that he has a tendency to get some of these yellow cards quite early in the games. And I think, again, it's because he is a bit of a hard hitter, but he also has a bit of a hot temper. He's not gotten a red card yet, and he's played more than 100 games, or at least I couldn't see that he had any. So I would say he controls it finely, but of course, if a central midfield gets a yellow card within the first 10 minutes, it brings the energy down a little bit, right? So I would say it is definitely also one of the areas where there is a watch out. But again, he's young. He's I think he's still 21 or 22. So in that sense, I mean, it's probably natural that these things, they get better over time.
Yeah, and I was going to ask as well in terms of course, playing for Nordsjlland, moving to Rangers. You mentioned he would probably play in that sort of midfield area. It will be interesting to see how he gets on. There is a lot of artificial surfaces over there in Denmark. There's a couple over in Scotland. Is that a surface that he's comfortable playing on, Casper?
Yeah, well, if the Nordsjlland plays on AstroTurf themselves, right? And I think that's also when you need to evaluate him, you need to take that into consideration. That his first period in Rangers, if and when he signs, will be a bit of a transition to playing more on grass than he's used to, I would say. So I don't think it's the 2-4 games he plays a year in Scotland on turf that will be the problem. I think it's the rest, because it's just a slightly different game. And I also think that if you look at all his stats, you can see that teams that play on AstroTurf, they have less duels, they have more passes, etc. So that will also shine through in all the stats that is shared around the X space and Instagram and whatever.
Yeah. In terms of his durability, has he been injured a lot during his time with you guys?
Well, he had quite a few things, but I think the context is relevant. So he had malaria. That's not really something you pick up a lot, recurring at least. He had a pretty severe concussion, also had him out for a while. But again, it's an injury where you don't expect it to come back unless he hits his head again, right? And then he broke his ankle. So he's had 3 longer stints out. And I think, again, back to why he wasn't sold earlier, I think his starting first 2 seasons were pretty abrupted by different forms of injuries. And I think if he had played stable in that period, he would have been gone way before he has.
Yeah, interesting. If he was under contract, Casper, what do you think his value would be? What would Nordsjlland be asking for him?
I think if he had a 4-year contract, my guess is he would be around 8 million euro.
Right. Okay. Right. So
and also, that's also probably pretty important in the context of things, because I've also seen on X that Rangers fans are extremely excited about him joining. But I think a few things need to be taken into consideration. I think even though Nordsjlland is a great team, I expect the level to be lower than Rangers. So of course it is a step up, and if it's a step up, then it will also take him time to fall into the rhythm. I don't think it's a huge step up though. So I don't expect it to take ages for him to adapt, but I would take in a bit of time. Then I think people need to take into consideration that, again, Nordsjlland plays a very idealistic form of football where it's all about a ton of passes and defenders camp into their own defense. And as I don't know how Rangers plays, there might also be some adaptation there. So I think it's healthy to be excited, but I think don't expect the new Kudus, because that's not his level.
Yeah, there you go, folks. Give him time to settle. At Rangers, you don't often get much time for that, Casper, but hopefully he can hit the ground running. You mentioned, he is 22, so he's just a baby in terms of his footballing career, of course. Where do you see him? What is his potential? Could you see him going maybe all the way playing down south in the English Premier League, perhaps your club Man United as well?
I think Man United will probably be a stretch. I think if I can start somewhere else, I think he's really good at a lot of things, but maybe he's also lacking a little bit of these very visual competencies that are a level above everyone else. So in that sense, that is often a trait needed to reach the very top. I think he's super solid. I think he's been super impressive. But if he manages to make it to the top of the Premier League, I doubt it. But I think you can do a very good career at Celtic, be there for a few years, maybe take
Rangers even.
Oh, no. Sorry about that. Sorry. Sorry about that one. My head was somewhere else. So take maybe half a step up, settle into the mid of the Premier League, and then I think that's about it. But I think he's a good player. I think he was unlucky not to go with Ivory Coast to the AFCON Nation tournament. But again, they also have a strong team. So I think he's a well-rounded player with a very good eye for moving forward when he gets the chance. I think his press resistance is a skill that, if it's played right, is a major asset. But again, that's very much down to the style of play. So I think he has a lot of good things going for him. I think he could improve a little bit on his finishing, as I said, and I think he has a bit of room to grow in when it comes to stability. I think from time to time, where he is now in his 5th season in FC Nordsjlland, I would like him to be more of a 7 out of 10, 7 out of 10, 7 out of 10 every time, instead of 5, 8, 5, 9. And that's a clear area to improve.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. And what about you guys then, Casper? How do you see the rest of the season going?
It's been a crap season. We're in 5th place. We had too many games against teams that had 30% ball possession, where we didn't manage to win, and we've locked ourselves out of the title game. So we're chasing 3rd place and Europe next year. That's the ambition.
Yeah. Well, we wish you all the very best for the rest of the season, and thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. So thank you.
You're welcome. Anytime.
Top man, there you go. There's Casper giving us an insight, folks, into Mohamed Diomande. He's edging closer to that move to Rangers. Hopefully you enjoyed that. We will speak to you again tomorrow morning when myself and Chris will be on the morning briefing. We hope you can join us for that. Until then, good night. Bye for now.